Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we wrangle the bigger picture out of literature. I am Adrian Ford, and we are here for a video which will appear in 3 separate playlists here on the channel. One, of course, being the short story review playlist. 2, being a run-through of the Best American Short Stories 2017 as edited by Meg Wolitzer. And 3, this is part of the Dirty 30. 30 videos in 30 days as we celebrate crossing 3,000 subscribers on Stripped Cover Lit. So, what are we here for a review of? We're here for a review of Are We Not Men by T.C. Boyle. So what we're going to have is a recap, 3 good things, 3 bad things, quotes, literary analysis, rating, and recommendation based on the text by Boyle. So, 1. What happened? Well, our boy Roy lives in the future where everyone works IT, and genetic modification is most definitely a thing. The non-organic girl across the street's non-organic dog, The non-organic girl across the street's non-organic dog nubs with non-organic teefums our neighbor's non-organic pet to death. Neighbor girl is a future version of a cat lady. She is organic heartbroken. Roy's wife comes home and they get into a fight because wifey wants a non-organic baby, which is also very much a thing. People select their children, people select their traits. Roy storms out and sleeps with the neo-cat lady, as people are wont to do. Roy ends up having a non-organic baby with his wife and an organic baby with Mistress Mutant Aminal. So, 3 good things. 1, humor. Anytime you've got T.C. Boyle, you've got humor. There's a thick dollop in there somewhere. The only thing I've read by him that did not have humor was San Miguel, which there was a little bit of humor with the final character whom we followed in the story, but up until that point there really wasn't very much. 2, if you were a visual reader, this story has flashes of brilliance with the different visuals T.C. Boyle is able to play with and really make you see, as opposed to just mentioning the visuals. 3, lots of F-bombs. I'm a fan of that. 3 bad things. 1, this is a first draft. I guarantee it. This reads like something that T.C. Boyle ripped off one half-lit night while he was pissed off about something that he saw on the news, never went back to it because he's T.C. Boyle, and knew he could get it published in, I believe, the New Yorker? Is that where this was? Yes, the New Yorker. Are We Not Men as it was found in the New Yorker. So, because he's T.C. Boyle, and yes, he is better than you, he gets to do these things. 2, in the 3 bad things about this short story, this is not new ground. There is not even new ground being threatened in this piece. Everything that you read here, you've really read in one fashion or another, some other place in science fiction. So, I mean, has every story been written? Yes. Would you rather see something that was not quite as on point having been written before? Absolutely. And T.C. Boyle refuses to do that with this piece. And 3, there is a lot of pretentious talking down to going on in this piece. Quotes from this piece, I have but one, and normally I will not give context to quotes, preferring instead to believe that great quotes can live extraneous to the text if you are not familiar with the text. But if you are familiar with the text, a great quote extracted from the piece can illuminate a deeper truth to be found therein. But one mind-blowing quirk of short stories, and especially of bad short stories, is that there is normally somewhere in that short story a single paragraph from which 85% of the goings-on of that little snippet of literature, known as the short story, can be extracted. Hemingway is part of the Hemingway legend, is that he knew that, and he would find it, and he'd get rid of everything else, and he'd go from there. But this quote is such a quote.
So there comes a day, sometime during that 8th month, a Tuesday, when I'm working at home and Connie's at the office, and I'm so focused on the problem at hand that I keep putting off my bathroom break until the morning's nearly gone. That's the way it always is when I'm deeply engaged with a problem. A kind of mind-body separation, but finally the body's needs prevail, and I push myself up from the desk to go down the hall to the bathroom. I'm standing there, in mid-flow, when I become aware of the sound of a dog barking on the front lawn, and I shift my torso ever so slightly so that I can glance out the window and see what all the ruckus is about. It's the red dog, the cherry pit that set all this in motion, and it's tearing around on my hybrid lawn, chasing something. My first reaction is anger. Anger at the tall girl and her fixer father and all the other idiots of the world. But by the time I get down the stairs and out the front door, the anger dissipates. Because I see that the dog isn't there to kill anything, but to play. And that what it's chasing is being chased willingly. Allison's dog cat, now a rangy adolescent, and perhaps a third the size of the dog.
So, literary analysis for Are We Not Men, written by T.C. Boyle, as taken from The New Yorker, and found in the Best American Short Stories of 2017, edited by Meg Wolitzer, the author of The Interestings. So, the title comes, obviously, from a Devo album of the late 70s, which is all very, very T.C. Boyle to do. But really, it is a reference to H.G. Wells and The Island of Dr. Moreau, which cautioned very heavily against man's manipulating nature and the work of God. But further, the title's kind of from both, and that's really what T.C. Boyle is capable of doing when striding at his full height. The poetry quoted by Lady Spinster is from Funeral Blues by W.H. Auden, which is a very effective piece if you've not read it, but it's also very obvious, in fact, as The Island of Dr. Moreau. So we have two very on-the-nose things going on in this piece that are extracurricular literary references, in a piece which is as on the nose as both of them. The wife character is humankind careening towards in businesslike fashion towards self-destruction and misery. Lonely neighbor lady is the self-reflective minority of humanity that still reveres nature and where they came from, i.e., her dead grandmother in whose house she lives. And our protagonist is the thinking individual, the logical person, stuck between the benefits of each and kind of pillaging both for those benefits. But our ending is very ambiguous. So let me see if I can flip there real quick. But before Allison can answer, a crow parrot sweeps out of the nearest tree, winging low to screech, "Fuck you!" in our faces, and the smallest miracle occurs. Tiger, as casual in his own skin as anything there ever is or was, erupts from the ground in a rocketing whirl of fur to catch the thing in his jaws. As quick as that, it's over. And the feathers, the prettiest feathers you'll ever see, lift and dance and float away on the breeze. Now, the reason that I think that is very, very confusing when looking at this piece thematically or literarily or for meaning is because this piece rails hard against manipulating nature. But here at the end, we have two chimeras in a scuffle, And the chimera that we like destroys the chimera that we don't. That's what happens there. And what is the lesson to be taken from that? Not that there necessarily has to be an on-the-nose lesson from something, but this reads like a parable. I mean, this reads very much as if there is something to be taken from T.C. Boyle by this piece. But we have the bastard child of man that we like murdering the bastard child of man that we don't in a pretty little world. And what are we supposed to take from that? Not to bring up Ernest Hemingway again, but to bring up Ernest Hemingway again, this short story reminds me of a Hemingway quote. We're all apprentices, speaking of writers, we're all apprentices in a craft where no one ever becomes a master. Now, when someone becomes a master, you don't question them, right? That is what a master is. That is what a master does. It is possible for a student to surpass them, but as we see oftentimes in arts and crafts, when the student surpasses the master retires. That is the whole thing around the student retiring his teacher. But this is indicative of the fact that no one ever really becomes a master in writing because T.C. Boyle is capable of so very much more than this. But he delivers just this. And the New Yorker picked it up anyway. And the Best American Short Stories of 2017 picked it up anyway. Why? Because T.C. Boyle's name was put on the front of it, and they got confused. Instead of simply saying, it's pretty on the nose there. Let's leave that one. Let's go ahead and pass that one by. This is not a great example of T.C. Boyle, and it's not a great example of a short story. And that's very humbling, I think, because T.C. Boyle is someone who I very much enjoy, and whose writing I very much look up to, and whose stories can be as pleasurable as they are instructive. This is not one of those. So, a rating for this short story, I give this 70 crow parrots out of 100, basically strictly for entertainment value, because like I said, there is some funny stuff going on, despite the fact that our protagonist is really sort of whiny and a bump on a log and difficult to read. And I think that is for effect. I think that was on purpose, but it's not pulled off well. It's one of those things in writing that you can do it if you can do it. If you can't do it, you didn't do it. But if you can do it, you can get it done. This time it was not gotten done. There's a very aggravating character, difficult to read, but still there were entertaining parts. So 70 out of 100 crow parrots. And a recommendation from this. Read Greasy Lake by T.C. Boyle, because it is a slick and subversive little story that showcases the piss and vinegar of which T.C. Boyle is capable without being so thematically naked a story. So I believe that is all I have for this review. One that pains me very much to have to tear down T.C. Boyle, such as this. You know, this is one of those short stories that I almost hate to look at thematically because it is so naked. But I kept wanting to give T.C. Boyle the benefit of the doubt and think that there's some through line there that I'm just not seeing. There is something I'm not picking up on. There's something more subversive than I'm giving this story credit for. And if you have read this, I hope that you can jump into that comment section and slap me down, because this is very disappointing. And I'm not sure I'm going to, having already read the next short story in this collection, I'm not sure I don't know if I'm gonna take very much enjoyment from this book. I think that this is probably going to end up being 12 or so hit pieces. Just me being angry, sitting down angry, motoring through a short story and tearing it apart in any way that I can. So if that is the sort of thing that you like, maybe hit the like button. If you have not already subscribed, subscribe. And I hope to see you here for the next installment of the Best American Short Stories, where I'm going to be absolutely eviscerating God's Work by Chris Canty as it appeared in, surprise, The New Yorker.